started at the back of the grid because we chose a new driver and we think he could be good at this race. We gained a few positions after the race started. But then something blew up on our car, so our driver had to pit. It broke. And if we look at the lap before the car broke, the driver wasn't overtaking or anything. I think it has to do because he has very high aggressiveness. That's why the car parts broke. So I think once the aggressiveness is over 100 or 120, then there's a high risk of stuff just blowing up without reason, and that will really put a hinder on the performance. We're trying this new driver because we want to see how much aggressiveness a driver can take before he makes a lot of mistakes, and prepare for next season and choose a very good driver. The next problem that we had is that our car didn't go faster throughout the race, and we weren't able to finish all that oil, and especially because we had to do an extra pit stop because something broke. But if we look at before we make the final extra pit stop, we're still slower than a lot of the other people, but because we did 17 laps slower with the higher fuel, because fixing something in the car broke, we also lost a lot of time. So potentially we could have got 7th if nothing blew up in the car. And surprisingly, Tsuka's the newcomer, he was able to finish 2nd in this race. I think that has to do because he has a good driver and he chose someone with the right stats. George Buns is also relatively new and he didn't have the best car, so I think it's to do with the driver. Unsurprisingly, Adriano, who finished very well last race, only finished 6th, and his cars had a very high wear and he had a problem near the end of the race. We lost about 1 minute from the car broke doing the extra pit stop, and then we lost another minute because our driver is very heavy. And if we say we chose out a bit better, we could have finished the round near what Adriano has finished, and that would be reasonable with our previous results. We can see that this new driver makes up to 1.6 seconds of mistakes because he has very high aggressiveness of 170. And his other stats, the concentration and talent, isn't high enough to keep the error down, and the more aggressiveness you have, the more error you make. And I think for the rookie class, about 30 to 70 or so aggressiveness points is where you start to lose a lot of time because you make a lot more mistakes and you don't get any benefit from pushing harder with the high aggressiveness. Because our previous driver had not made any extra mistakes with more aggressiveness in training, I thought there was no correlation between aggressiveness and the amount of driver mistakes you make. Apparently there is. And we can see from the race, the rear ring broke, that's why I need to do the extra pit stop. And you can see the lap times were like a bit slower at the end. The main highlight for this race summary is that our driver hasn't made any mistakes, and he was able to drain a lot of his stamina and use the high risk that we set him, so that's very good. problem with our calculation tool for the stats is that we didn't put enough weighting into driver weight. That's why we chose this one with the higher weight and better stats, so I don't think that works. A hack that I recently found out is that you can just copy and paste the race results and you can just put into your Excel sheet, and then we can click this top corner and set the rows to the correct height again, then you can set it to the correct width, and you set the size correctly, and we set the color and remove this and do that, and then we can see all of the race results. And then added some calculations that automatically looks at this, so I don't have to enter everything. And then we did some conversion to actually extract this and get the time. And then you can see it automatically calculated everything for us. And then we look at the average time on 2 laps and 3 laps. We can see at the start of the race, our driver time is about 79.5, and after the first pit stop it was 80, and after the last pit stop it was 80.5. So you can see clearly we didn't have enough weight compensation, and the car wasn't balanced, so he lost a lot of time. We used the 0.95 for the car weight compensation values, and last time when we tried the 1.35, our car went a lot slower throughout the end of the race. It could have been the high car weight, so I'm not sure the actual reason why the car went a lot slower throughout the race, like 1 or 2 seconds. That's why that really hurt our performance. But I think potentially if we increase a bit more, they'll probably fix it. I think it's potentially to do with different tracks. Some tracks you don't need as much weight compensation and it'll be okay, but some need a bit more. The car weight compensation is actually the actual results. Looks at actually halves the car weight, because previously when I was doing some calibration, half was actually better and this fits most tracks. So if we put the coefficient to 2, it's actually the same as what the calculator tool suggests. And then I also automated the track calculation using some Excel calculation, and then we can automatically look at the track characteristics and how much pit stops to do, and we just copy and paste like the race results into the Excel, and then we can get all the results. And then after that, I added all of the past race we did this season and just copy and paste and get all of the stuff automatically. If we look at the error our driver make, it's about plus minus 0.8. That means a peak error of 1.6 seconds. So he's losing a lot of time compared to our previous driver. But actually I just went to this race results with our previous driver. It's actually about plus minus 0.8 the same. So you really don't get to see the actual average error he makes in the race unless you actually look at every lap and take some average and calculation. If we go back to one of the drivers which we used last season, we had someone with the high talent of 213 and 17 concentration, and the average error he made was 1.1%, and our new driver made about 0.8% with the 120 and 100 points. And then if we look at another driver that we had last season with 160 concentration, 100 talent, the average error was, this shows 0.3%, but the error is track dependent. But if we look at a bit more of the other results, we can see that with the very high talent of 280 concentration, the average error was the same as the new driver we chose of 120 and 100 concentration. So you can see that actually the driver average mistake is not just mostly based upon concentration, it's also heavily dependent on talent. Potentially it's like a 50-50 split. That's why this driver that we chose didn't perform that well, because last time we were looking at only the concentration and calculate the driver stats, because before the talent doesn't do much for the average error, but we were wrong. It's shameful that we actually have the data of the past results, but we didn't figure out that both concentration and talent has similar or the same effect on the driver average mistake. I have this calculation here which shows how the driver OA is calculated, and every point you get 0.16 concentration, 0.24 talent, and then we did a multiplication of this so it can offset and look at what the values are. And then for the new calculation, instead of dividing the talent points by 2 in the ranking, we chose to be divide by 0.88, so actually multiply a bit, and that is only 30% less than the GPRO ranking for the overall. And then we divide by 3 for the experience, which is about 50% less. And then we give a 1 point for every concentration, and then we increase the weighting for the weight from 2.4 to 8. And I had a look, about 7 or 6 was still not enough, and 8 is somewhere we want it to be. And we did some calculation that is say 5 kilograms, and we multiply by 5. So this is the weight compensation value, and if we multiply by 5 kilograms, that would be equivalent to 25 points of concentration or 40 points of concentration if the weight is 8. And we know that every lap we lose about 0.036 seconds per kilogram, and we know that increasing the concentration by 20 is not going to get you like more than that 0.1 seconds. And if we increase the weight by 10 kilograms, we know the time lost per lap is about 0.36 seconds. And to reduce the driver error by on average 0.36, I think it will take around this 80-70 concentration or even more. And then for the aggressiveness, we use this min function to limit the max awarded points to 35. And then we chose to divide by 2.3, like 2 times less than the GPRO suggested. And then 35 points will allow him to gain points until about 80 aggressiveness. And we considered to use this driver with 200 talent and 80 concentration, and he has low weight of 61 kilograms and a low salary. And then we also considered this one with the 220 talent, 96 concentration, but he has a bit higher weight and a higher fee. And we can see the difference between these two drivers after calculation will be equivalent to 20 points of concentration. We made these offers to these drivers, but then the other one, someone else also bid on him, so he didn't get it. So he got this one, but I think it's quite good. And surprisingly, we didn't have any drivers with very high concentration being able to top the list. I think everyone is already been taken by all the other pro managers, and no one actually realizes that talent is similar to the effect of concentration and reducing the average mistakes. That's why all these high talent people got left out. We signed him for 5 races, and we're not going to train him. We just want to see if he's actually the correct stats and do good and be fast. And we can see that if we actually have to extend the contract, the amount of money you spend will be similar to actually signing a new driver at the start of next season. So we want to actually potentially consider this person for next season. Then at the last race you can just extend, so you spend the money now and then the money resets. I'm not sure what the career information, because it shows he hasn't done any race, and he started working from last season to now. We can see for this race we have to replace the engine and the side pods. We potentially might want to replace the cooling, because with a new driver there might be a few more points more wear on the cooling. Because for this race that we just did, we can see that the actual wear was about 3 points or 2 points high on some of the stats and 2 points high on the underbody, potentially because this driver has very high aggressiveness. So if that happens in this race, then we might have the car parts blow up, then we'll lose the race. So we're going to upgrade the engine, the side pods, and just downgrade the cooling, because cooling probably not going to make much difference. And we can save a little bit of money because our money is running low. And after the upgrade, our car is quite balanced and it's handling based, which is what we want. And we can see we still have one of the best cars. And if we look at the top contenders, Marek, Adriano and Giovanni, other than Bruno, the people who are going to promote, like 3 of them already blew all of their money and threw it into the car. So I have no idea what they're trying to do, because if you're going to promote to next season, you want to have some money left so you can do well. So I think they're probably just mucking around the season and deliberately spending all of the money they have. And potentially at the end of the season, they might deliberately choose to voluntarily go into negative money, and then they won't promote, and then the people under the promotion line will be able to promote. And if that happens, as long as we beat Giovanni, we can promote. For this race that we're going to do, I already copied and pasted the track characteristics into our calculator tool, and we can see that it's about 1.5, which suggests 2 stops. And I also look at the past race data, also says 2 or 3 stops. And you can see I copy and paste the data into here. And you can see the track here, and you can see the race summary to click on the past race data. We updated our gadgets, and we got the new car wear values, and we're also going to copy this and put it into our calculator tool. Also copy and paste the race temperature into our calculator tool. Now we got the average race temperature, which is 12. And then I have to use the Ctrl C to copy, and then use Ctrl Shift V to copy and paste as static, because we used calculation to get the values. Surprisingly, I forgot to enter the calculation for Q1, Q2 temperature, so I just entered that manually into our calculation tool. going to change the temperature to 12 because the calculation tool on mine is incorrect. You can see with the extra soft, the max wear is about 9, and we know that from last race. We just learned that it's better to maximize the tire wear and choose a strategy is not that optimal. Instead, it will be faster, but we can actually do this strategy even with 2 stops. We can choose to do 17, 17 and 18 laps, and we'll have 2 extra laps, and we'll be able to complete the race. And then the final percent of tire wear left will be 3.3%. And because it's at the end of the race, it's potentially only going to need to cover 16 or 17 laps, so we won't really see that 3.3. But if we need to, we'll be able to go to that high wear. We entered the fuel for this race, and we're going to find the setup. We entered the values. Previously I was actually entering these values manually, but recently I found out that after press the Ctrl C to copy, you can just use the Ctrl Shift V to paste as static, so I don't need to enter it again. We've calculated the final setup. We're going to find the wing split. Got the same lap time with 0 wing split compared to 100 wing splits. We can just put into the middle, and then I use this calculator tool that I created, and I input this reference time as the quickest with no wing split, and then we know at this it's 168, and we divide by this, and we add the 2, and because it's in the middle, and then times it by a percentage and get the 47.6 for the wing split. I'm going to do qualifying. We're just gonna use low risk. It's quite good, only 0.3 seconds off the best time. Considering this is a new driver with relatively low overall and all of others have beefed up drivers, I think this qualifying time is quite good. And we're 1.4 seconds faster in Marek in Q1, who has the fastest car. We entered the difference in temperature and got the new setup. And we entered the required fuel. I think our driver could have potentially made a mistake in Q2, that's why the time is a bit slower. When we compare to all of the qualified managers, you can see though our average ranking is still quite similar, but the time in the Q2 is about 1.5 seconds slower, which is what we just saw. You can see we qualified very well for this race, and if our driver is able to go faster in the race, it will be very good. I'm going to increase the risk by 10 points and increase the defending by 2 points, because we want the driver to drain virtually all of his stamina in this race, and we know potentially he's not going to make much mistakes anyway, so this should be optimum. And we're going to not do any boost laps because we don't have much tire wear left, and we're going to make him only pit if there are more than 42 laps remaining, which is half of the first stint laps. We're also going to keep this wait for a long time before pitting, because if it rains it's not going to stay rainy for long. And we entered the final race setup. We also entered the required field for this race. You can see that we keep getting new achievements where we had an older driver, because we start from pole position and we get all of these achievements. And we also got the start with the fastest car in the rookie group. You can see in our team we still have the fastest car. And if we look at the Q2 time, we were the fastest in our team. This race that we just did, and we did very poorly. Surprisingly, we're only 1 minute and 20 seconds slower. And we lost 60 seconds from the pit stop compared to our teammates.